Mira, a tired single mom, gave her train seat to an old lady, not knowing that one small act of kindness would change her life forever. Before watching full video, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more kindness and emotional stories. Mira sat on the hard train seat, her arms aching from carrying heavy bags. Sweat trickled down her face in the sticky Mumbai heat. Her 8-year-old daughter, Aisha, leaned against her, tired from the long wait at the crowded station. Mira, a single mother in her 30s, worked late nights as a tailor to pay rent and buy Aisha's school books. Life was tough since her husband passed away, but Mira's heart stayed soft. She always taught Aisha to be kind no matter how hard things got. The train compartment buzzed with noise, people pushing, bags clattering, voices shouting. Mira finally had a seat after hours of standing, a small relief for her sore feet. Aisha's eyes were heavy and Mira whispered, "Rest now, beta." But then she saw her, an old woman, frail and wobbly, clutching a worn-out bag. The woman, Mrs. Sharma, looked lost in the crowd, her face tired and scared. No one offered her a place to sit. Her thin hands trembled as she tried to hold on to the train's railing. Mira's heart sank. She knew how it felt to struggle alone. Mrs. Sharma's eyes reminded her of her own mother, who passed years ago. Without thinking twice, Mira stood up. "Auntie, please take my seat," she said softly, guiding Mrs. Sharma to sit. Aisha tugged at her hand, confused. "Mummy, you're tired too," she whispered. Mira smiled. "It's okay, beta. She needs it more." Mrs. Sharma's face lit up with gratitude. "Bless you, child," she said, her voice shaky but warm. They talked a little. Mira shared how she worked hard for Aisha's dreams, and Mrs. Sharma nodded, her eyes kind but quiet. Nearby, a young man watched silently. Vikram, Mrs. Sharma's grandson, had just reached the station to meet her. He saw Mira give up her seat, heard her gentle words, and felt something stir in his heart. Vikram was wealthy, a quiet millionaire who built a tech company, but he never showed it. Mira's kindness touched him deeply. It reminded him of his own mother's love. He didn't say anything, but he knew this moment would change things. Mira, unaware, stood by Aisha, her heart full from doing what felt right. Mira's legs ached, her body begging for rest after a long day stitching clothes under a flickering bulb. The train's hum and the crowd's chatter only made her head heavier. Aisha, clinging to her hand, looked up with worried eyes. "Mummy, sit down please," she said softly, her small voice full of care. Mira brushed Aisha's hair gently, forcing a smile. But her gaze kept drifting to Mrs. Sharma, the old woman swaying unsteadily nearby. The sight tugged at Mira's heart, she couldn't ignore it. Without a second thought, Mira stepped forward. "Auntie, please come sit here," she said, her voice warm but firm. Mrs. Sharma hesitated, her wrinkled hands clutching her bag tighter. "No, beta, you're young, you need it," she replied, her tone shaky. Mira shook her head. "Auntie, you need this more than me," she insisted, guiding her gently to the seat. Mrs. Sharma's eyes softened, a mix of surprise and relief washing over her face. She sat down slowly, her frail frame sinking into the spot Mira had given up. As Aisha stood close, Mira crouched beside Mrs. Sharma, making sure she was comfortable. The old woman's gratitude spilled out in a quiet, "Thank you, beta." Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, a warmth that needed no words. Mira, feeling a spark of connection, opened up a little. "I stitch clothes to keep us going," she said, glancing at Aisha. "I want her to study, become someone big one day." Her voice cracked as she added, "It's been hard since my husband left us, but we manage." She didn't say it for pity, just to share a piece of her world. Mrs. Sharma listened, her gaze steady and kind, like a grandmother hearing a familiar story. She nodded, her hands folded in her lap, taking in every word. "You're strong, beta," she said softly. "Your daughter is lucky." Mira blushed, waving off the praise. Mrs. Sharma didn't share much, only mentioning she was heading to see her grandson. "He's a good boy, always busy," she said with a faint smile, her eyes distant but proud. Mira nodded, happy to let the moment be. The train rattled on, and Mira stood by Aisha, her heart lighter despite the ache in her feet. She didn't know Mrs. Sharma's story or who her grandson was. All she knew was that giving felt right, like a small light in her tiring day. Mrs. Sharma sat quietly, her hands resting, but her heart full, touched by a stranger's care. Vikram hurried through the chaotic train station, his heart racing. He was late to meet his grandmother, Mrs. Sharma, and the guilt gnawed at him. The Mumbai platform was a mess, people shoving, hawkers shouting, and the air thick with heat. As he wove through the crowd, he spotted her in the train compartment, sitting comfortably. Relief washed over him, but then he froze. A young woman stood nearby, holding a little girl's hand, both looking tired but calm. Something about them caught his eye. Vikram stayed back, blending into the bustle, and watched. The woman, Mira, was talking to her daughter, Aisha. "We'll stand, Beta," she said gently. "We need to make sure the auntie is comfortable." Her voice was soft but firm, and Aisha nodded, trusting her mother's choice. Vikram's chest tightened. He realized Mira had given up her seat for his grandmother. In a packed train where everyone fought for space, this stranger chose kindness over her own comfort. It wasn't just a seat, it was a sacrifice, and Mira made it look simple. He didn't step forward or say anything. Vikram, a tech entrepreneur who built a fortune quietly, hated drawing attention. But he couldn't look away. Mira's selflessness hit him hard, stirring memories of his late mother. She used to give without expecting anything back, whether it was food to a neighbor or her time to a stranger. Mira's act felt like a piece of that warmth brought back to life. He saw how she adjusted Aisha's hair, how she stood tall despite her weary eyes. There was strength in her, the kind that didn't shout but shone. Vikram boarded the train, keeping his distance. He watched Mira and Aisha throughout the journey. Mira hummed softly to keep Aisha calm, even as her own arms trembled from holding bags. Aisha giggled at her mother's silly stories, their bond unbreakable despite the hard day. Vikram noticed every detail, the way Mira shared her water with a fellow passenger, how she smiled at Aisha's chatter. They had so little yet gave so much. He felt a pull, a need to do something, but he stayed silent, his mind racing with ideas. No one knew who he was, not Mira, not the others. Vikram liked it that way. But as the train rolled on, he knew this moment wasn't just a passing scene. Mira's kindness had sparked something in him, and he wouldn't let it fade. The train screeched to a stop at its final station, and Mira helped Mrs. Sharma gather her things. The old woman's hands shook slightly, but her smile was bright. "Beta, you've been so kind," Mrs. Sharma said, her voice warm. "Please give me your number. You're like family now." Mira blinked, unsure. She wasn't used to such words from a stranger. But seeing Mrs. Sharma's earnest eyes, she nodded out of respect and scribbled her number on a scrap of paper. They hugged briefly, and Mira walked away with Aisha, feeling a quiet joy. Days later, Mira's phone rang while she was stitching a blouse. A man's voice, polite and calm, introduced himself. "I'm Vikram, Mrs. Sharma's grandson. Can we meet? I want to thank you for what you did." Mira was puzzled but agreed, thinking it was just a kind gesture. She took Aisha along, her heart curious but not expecting much. They arrived at a small cafe where Vikram waited, a young man in simple clothes, his eyes gentle yet sharp. Mrs. Sharma was there too, beaming beside him. Vikram spoke first. "Your kindness to my grandmother meant everything," he said. Mira smiled, brushing it off. "It was nothing," she said. But Vikram leaned forward, his voice steady. "It wasn't nothing. You gave when you had so little. I want to repay that." Mira frowned, confused, as he continued. "I'm setting up a tailoring shop for you, machines, a space, everything you need. And I'll cover Aisha's school fees so she can chase her dreams." Mira's breath caught. She stared at him, then at Aisha, whose eyes widened. "No, sir, it's too much," Mira stammered, her hands trembling. Vikram shook his head. "My grandmother taught me kindness is rare and precious," he said. "You stood for hours so she could rest. This is my way of honoring that." Mrs. Sharma reached for Mira's hand, squeezing it. "Accept it, Beta. You deserve it," she whispered. Tears welled in Mira's eyes. She'd never imagined her small act would lead to this. Aisha hugged her mother, giggling with excitement. Mira's heart swelled, torn between shock and gratitude. She looked at Vikram, searching for words. "Thank you," she finally whispered, her voice thick. The cafe felt warmer, like a promise of new beginnings. Mira didn't know Vikram's wealth or story, but she felt his sincerity. Her one moment of kindness had opened a door she never expected, and for the first time in years, hope felt real. Mira sat frozen in the cafe, her heart pounding. Vikram's words echoed in her mind. A tailoring shop, Aisha's education, a chance at a better life. It felt like a dream too big for her small world. Tears stung her eyes as she shook her head. "No, sir, I can't take this," she said, her voice shaky. "I only gave a seat. It was nothing special." Aisha looked up, confused, gripping her mother's hand. Mira's chest felt heavy with gratitude but also disbelief. Why her? She'd only done what felt right. Vikram leaned forward, his eyes kind but firm. "Mira ji, your kindness changed my grandmother's day," he said. She felt cared for when she was alone. Now, I hope this changes yours. His words hit deep and Mira's tears spilled over. She wanted to argue, to say she didn't deserve it, but something in his voice stopped her. It wasn't just a gift, it was respect for what she'd done. Mrs. Sharma, sitting quietly till now, reached out, her wrinkled hand resting on Mira's. "Beta, listen to me," she said softly. Her voice carried years of love and loss. "I raised Vikram alone after my daughter passed. Life was hard, but I gave him all I had, my heart, my time. When you gave me your seat, it felt like that same love. You reminded me of what matters." Her eyes shone with tears and Mira's breath caught. She saw not just an old woman but a mother, a fighter like herself. The room felt still, as if time held its breath. Mira looked at Aisha, whose hopeful smile broke her defenses. She thought of the nights she'd prayed for a way forward for her daughter's future. "Okay," Mira whispered, her voice cracking. "Thank you. I'll accept it." The words felt heavy, like a promise. She stood and hugged Mrs. Sharma tightly, their tears mixing. It was more than gratitude. It was a bond like family found in a single moment. Mira wiped her face, turning to Vikram. "I'll make you proud," she said, her voice steadier now. "And I'll help others like you helped me." Mrs. Sharma smiled, patting her hand, and Vikram nodded, his own eyes misty. Aisha clapped, her laughter filling the air. Mira's heart swelled. She'd given a seat but gained hope, love, and a chance to pay kindness forward. As they left the cafe, she felt lighter, ready to embrace the new path ahead. Months passed and Mira's life bloomed like a flower after rain. Her new tailoring shop, a gift from Vikram, buzzed with customers. The hum of sewing machines filled the air as she stitched saris and dresses with care. For the first time, Mira paid her bills without worry, her heart swelling with pride. She hung a small sign above the shop door, "Mira's Stitches, made with love." It wasn't just a business. It was her strength, proof she could stand tall for Aisha and herself. Aisha, now in a good school, shone brightly. Her uniform was crisp, her backpack heavy with books. Mira watched her daughter read stories and solve math problems, dreams once distant now close enough to touch. Aisha's laughter filled their small home, and Mira often caught her sketching designs for clothes, saying, "Mummy, I'll help you one day." Those moments made every late-night stitch worth it. Mira felt a quiet joy. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was building a future. Mira and Mrs. Sharma grew closer, their bond deeper than words. Every Sunday Mira visited with tea and biscuits and they talked like grandmother and daughter. Mrs. Sharma shared old stories, of raising Vikram, of days when hope was all she had. Mira listened, her heart full, knowing this friendship was a treasure. Sometimes Mrs. Sharma held Aisha's hand, teaching her little rhymes, her eyes twinkling. Mira saw love in those moments, the kind that ties hearts forever. Vikram stopped by now and then, always quiet, never flaunting his wealth. He'd sit in the shop, sipping chai, asking about Mira's work. Her humility moved him, how she thanked him every time, how she shared her profits with a neighbor in need. Inspired, Vikram helped others silently, funding small dreams for people like Mira. He never told her, but her kindness had sparked a chain of good rippling beyond their meeting. One evening Mira sat with Aisha under a starry sky. The shop was closed, the world still. Holding her daughter close, Mira spoke softly. "Never hesitate to give, Beta. Even a small act can touch someone's heart in ways you'll never know." Aisha nodded, her eyes wide, soaking in the lesson. Mira smiled, thinking of that crowded train, the seat she gave up, and the love it brought back. Life had changed not just with money or a shop, but with trust and kindness. She knew now, every small gesture carried a power to heal, to connect, to begin anew.